today's video kind of sets the tone for the time of year that it is. So as you all know, it is winter, and you can see that it's getting darker with my videos. It's getting darker and there's not a lot of sunlight for me to record in, unless if I'm recording on a weekend. But yeah, what I mean by what I said earlier is during the winter, a lot of people tend to have winter depression for some reason. It's just that it's cold, it's dark, and I don't know, some people like to say that there's a plot twist at the end of each year. Oh fuck, there's a bug on my screen. But anyways, this video is about reasons why you feel depressed, but you don't know why. Let's get straight into it. So the first part of this video, I'm going to be explaining the habits that destroy your mental health levels, and it should be obvious that they are. And when you hear the word, you should just know that it destroys your level. Now, I know some, not a lot of people, but I know some people, not personally, but I know some people who do these habits but are always like, life is so depressing. You probably where I'm getting at. You probably know where I'm getting at. First habit is vaping and smoking. Vaping and smoking, nicotine is literally correlated to bad brain functionality, and it affects the mood negatively. It is basically just a mood killer. And that's why you'll see a lot of people, I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of people who tend to do these things are either really moody all the time, or if you know those people, if you know people who know how to kind of control it, like they're not constantly like with their vape, they're like constantly, they don't even know how to breathe oxygen. You're just like 24/7, and they have to get like a new vape every 2 days because they've already ran out of puffs or some shit. But yeah, people like that who do that are usually, you know, not very nice people. They're always moody and stuff. But people who know how to control themselves are usually, they're not really moody a lot. I mean, maybe here or there. I mean, everyone's moody from time to time. But I'm mainly talking about the people who literally don't even breathe the oxygen. They just fucking... So yeah, vaping and smoking, nicotine and a bunch of other bullshit chemicals in there are literally correlated to bad brain functionality, and it affects the mood negative. Okay, another one is eating junk food. Yeah, we all eat junk food. I eat junk food from time to time, usually on a Friday night after a long week of school. It depends. I'm not gonna ball out with like 5 Big Macs, but I usually I either get Chipotle, which is still good junk food. Eating junk food, if you're eating junk food often, I'd like to say, like, honestly, I know some people who eat it like every other day. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, I don't know what to get. I don't really feel like cooking today. People who eat junk food occasionally, you know, if you're eating it like, let's say, honestly, even 3 times a week, it's not gonna like affect your mood that badly. But like, actually, you know what, I changed my mind. 3 weeks, I'm not saying it's gonna make you depressed as fuck if you eat it 3 times a week. Don't if you are, but let's say you're eating like every other day, let's say, and I know people who do that, or just eat it commonly. Maybe they might not even just eat fast food, like full-on meals. They'll have like, you know, a bag, like half a bag of chips, like, you know, snack on here and there. You know, in the morning they'll eat like cereal, they'll eat like fucking Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but in the morning. Or even things like they're always eating Jolly Ranchers, or they're always, you know, drinking Coke or Sprite or Fanta. The reason why these are horrible for your mental health levels is that they have artificial food dyes in them. Like things like Red 40, Yellow 5, and also a blue food dye. I can't remember the name fully. But they're basically just artificial food dyes, which are so bad for you. They're literally so bad for you that are correlated to, once again, brain functionality, which studies have been shown that kids nowadays have behavioral issues more than, like, let's say back in the 80s, 70s. Studies have been shown that the rate of kids having behavioral issues are higher than ever before. Because guess what? All of these fucking companies like to make shit like Jolly Ranchers, which Jolly Ranchers, listen, they taste amazing, but they are literally loaded with things like Red 40 and Yellow 5 and all these artificial bullshit food dyes. So yeah, a lot of common candies like that are bright and colorful packets are filled with artificial food dyes, which once again explains why a lot of kids nowadays have behavioral issues. Now, I'm not saying it's entirely like if they don't eat these things ever, they're just gonna be calm and collected, but it definitely does play a role. So yeah, eating junk can definitely affect your mental health issues and also your brain's functionality just overall. Now, this is the last part about habits that destroy your mental health levels, and should be obvious. This is the last part. It's kind of iffy, but like, you know, if you do it enough, and that is having a social media addiction. So number one, social media, if you know how to balance it out, it's okay. I mean, if you use it as a tool or it's just a way that you communicate with your friends. Listen, I use social media, I use Instagram to communicate with my friends all the time. But if you have an addiction, like you are literally, you know, constantly, let's say, I know some people who, actually, this is, you know what, this is probably a reason why a lot of us do this now, is that whenever we have like, even like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, maybe even 2 minutes, just like say it's almost like fucking, like everyone, it's just a thing now. That if you have like 2 minutes to yourself, you're just gonna pull out your phone, go on Instagram or TikTok and start scrolling. A lot of people don't even realize that they open their phone and go on Instagram or TikTok and start scrolling. That is how much of an addiction it is. If you have an addiction to social media, it is a horrible thing. An addiction to anything is horrible, but not specifically for your mental health, but for other reasons. Now, why social media overall can be bad is because you're comparing yourself to others a lot. If you aren't, then yeah, it's fine. But like, for people who do, people who are overthinkers and people who, you know, don't have a lot of good self-esteem usually do this. I know a lot of people who look at girls on Instagram and stuff and models and be like, yeah, I wish I could look like her, and always put themselves down like they aren't a model for a reason. Like, if you see a model or to see a guy like who's on Vogue or something and say like, I wish I was him, you don't think that they were just blessed with, like, yeah, sure, they were given that body and that look, but you know how difficult it is for them to maintain? I've seen documentaries of models who have to eat a very, very, very specific way to keep their slim body. So it's not all just rain and shine for them. It's a job. So yeah, comparison to others, you know, you develop habits like bad self-talk and bad self-criticism. I've heard studies of feelings of worthlessness. That's kind of an extreme, you know, telling yourself, yeah, I'm nothing. But like, over time, these thoughts will get to you. Talking about yourself badly in a bad way, not thinking positive thoughts, can get to you, can get to your brain and to your mental health. Okay, now to the main point of the video. Those couple habits that I listed are just little things that you might, I'm gonna point this out. If you're vaping and smoking, expecting to be happy, I guess, or like not depressed. If you're depressed and you're vaping and smoking, I don't know what you're thinking, because it genuinely, it bamboos. That's why I put it in this video, because I've seen people do that. Once again, I've seen people vape and smoke and complain that they're depressed. And I'm like, bro, with no, like, anyways, onto the next part of the video. So these are the habits that also destroy your mental health, or I wouldn't say destroy, that's kind of an extreme, but ruin your mental health levels, but are not as obvious. Number one is being indoors all day. You're missing out on key elements like hangouts and not enough sunlight. I talk a lot about sunlight on this channel, and I'll get to it in a second why it's so important, especially for your mental health. But yeah, staying indoors all day, it's a little habit that you don't want to have. You know, you want to get out there, don't miss out on hangouts. You know, I have you know, a Friday ritual. So there's this place, I go to a community center, right? And I hang out with a bunch of my friends. You know, it's a lot of fun. Just imagine a bunch of people in like a room, playing music, playing Mario Kart, playing Uno, things like that. Friday, that's what makes me look forward to Friday. It's not that school ends, it's that I have two choices, okay? One, I could go home and do jack shit, or two, I could go to that community center and do what I do. Because I'm telling you, it is, once again, that's why I look forward to the end of the week, not because of school ending, but because of that. Anytime on a Friday, I wake up and I'm like, you know, it's Friday, it's gonna be such a good day. Point is that I have two options. I can either go home and sit indoors, or I can go and hang out with a bunch of other people. So if you're choosing to, you know, constantly go, say you're free after, you know, a Friday, let's say, or any other day that you're free, I want you to adapt your mindset to change and say, when you have free time, try to make plans with other people. If you want to go home here and there, yeah, sure, do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But don't make it a constant habit. Like, if you have a good, like, you know, let's say you have 3 days a week you should plan some hangouts, especially if your friends are making them. They're like, hey, this Friday, do you want to do something? And you just say no, and they're like, why? I'm just like, I just don't want to. I mean, I can't really tell you to do something that you don't want to, but if there's like a little dumbass reason why you don't want to, it's like, oh yeah, maybe because, oh yeah, I just want to stay indoors. I don't want to do anything. But you do like hanging out, because here's the weird thing. People like staying at home, but then people also like hanging out with their friends. So it's kind of like a mix and match of like, what the fuck do I do? And a lot of people just end up staying home. So honestly, if you develop this habit to just go home all the time and try to be at home after school or work or whatever all the time, then you're gonna end up missing out on hangouts and stuff like that. And I do have a very close friend who just goes home on Fridays instead of going to the community center with us. I don't know why, but yeah, don't be like that guy. You know, do fun things with your friends. And then the next part is not getting enough sunlight. I talk about sunlight a lot on this channel, and there's good reasons why. Sunlight is literally just a mood booster. It reduces cortisol in the brain and increases testosterone. The testosterone part is kind of irrelevant, but reducing cortisol is definitely, because the less stressed you are, the more happy you are. If you didn't know, cortisol is the hormone in your brain that is responsible for your stress level. So the higher cortisol is, the higher your stress